Welcome to the Internet Marketing Funnel Podcast. I'm David Bain. Hi, and welcome to another edition of the podcast brought to you by InternetMarketingFunnel.com. This week's podcast discusses press releases in a conversation with Mike Wilson from All Media Scotland. In this first part of the 5-part interview, I ask Mike to introduce himself and then go on to discuss the impact of writing an effective headline. Mike Wilson's the co-founder of All Media Scotland, a national portal for people working in Scotland's media industries and those wishing to reach out to Scotland's media community. All Media Scotland started in 2003 and now boasts over 30,000 unique visitors a month. Mike, it's good for you to join me.
Yes, a pleasure. And I think these numbers that you quote are probably now a little out of date. The numbers get better all the time.
Can you firstly begin by telling us a little bit about yourself and indeed All Media Scotland?
Yes, my background is as a freelance writer, working oddly enough in sport for many, many years, but chose to develop this site along with a colleague, Alex Bell, because we perceived a demand for news about what's happening in the Scottish media, and also a demand to use such a website as All Media Scotland as a conduit for organisations wishing to make contact with the media, because the site offers not just media news that's interesting to those who are working in the media and have a curiosity about the Scottish media, but it's also a means for organisations to, for instance, hire media talent and also to get their stories across to journalists through a service that we have which allows them to post their media releases on the front page of the site.
I'd say that your core skill is really helping businesses around Scotland build relationships with the media. Would that be fair?
I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, but certainly what we offer is with the media release posting service is a facility not only to post media releases, but what comes with that is a little bit of training on how best to put together a media release and how to recognise what makes a story, because journalists, like all of us, are quite judgmental about the material that they're presented with, and they make snap decisions about whether they want to follow a story up, just as anyone is when they're looking at a newspaper or watching the TV or listening to a radio station. You know, they very quickly decide whether that story is for them. So the training that we offer with the media release posting service seeks to make clear what makes a story and how best to put that, to convey that within the first paragraph of the media release, because it's the first paragraph that really matters. My skill, what we offer on All Media Scotland, is a way of getting people to put together media releases that are not, that are effective. And the reality is, and our experience and the experience of many journalists, well, all journalists, is that actually they're very badly put together. That's the reality in Scotland.
Right, okay. Would you say that's because the majority of media releases are put together by companies themselves, but they should employ PR agencies?
Well, not all PR agencies are particularly good at putting media releases together either, actually, to be honest.
Right.
I mean, I think the only people who really understand what makes a good media release are journalists, and not necessarily, and PR people are not necessarily recruited from the ranks of journalism either. So there's a very specific skill required to put a media release together, and not many people have it, even though lots of media releases are put out.
Okay.
So that's why we offer this kind of training dimension to the website, to the subscription, the media release posting service, is that we are aware that there is a need to assist people in putting together an effective media release, otherwise it'll just end up in the bin.
You mentioned the first introduction paragraph is the most important aspect of it. Would you say that's more important than even the title?
No, I mean the headline to any media release is vital, because it's the first point of contact. It potentially will tease the interest of the reader, lure that reader in to find out more. Much like if you were looking at teletext headlines, you'd make a decision there and then on the basis of that headline. So no, I wouldn't underestimate the power of the headline at all. And if you've got a particular skill to produce a headline that is a bit witty or play on words, then all the better. But if you're unable to do that, then better to produce a headline that just simply says in very kind of sort of cat sat on the mat terms what the story is seeking to do. And you'll find that in most cases the headline is just a reflection, a tighter version of what actually is said in the opening paragraph. So the headline and the opening paragraph very much kind of work as a kind of sort of couple, one to kind of lure the reader into the other.
Okay, and in your experience, is the headline mostly often changed by journalists once they actually receive the release?
I would think probably all the time, actually, because journalists, well, it won't be journalists who may be writing the headline, it'll be the sub-editor who will do that, and sub-editors have a particular skill in producing, clever, witty headlines. They're also working, of course, to production requirements where they have to fit the headline into a particular amount of space. So whether it's a 1-deck, 2-deck, or 3-deck headline, they will have to work within the kind of sort of physical parameters of the space they have to fill. So they will require to come up with a headline that is clever and engaging, also seeks to make clear what the rest of the story is about to reveal, and also will fit within the kind of production, the production parameters in terms of space on the newspaper. Now that's a job that's done by sub-editors. So journalists won't have anything to do with the headline. It'll be just a question of them being lured potentially by that headline in the media release that they see.
That's really interesting, that the fact that the headline is solely to attract the attention of the journalists as opposed to actually market your story to your public. You mentioned 1-deck, 3-deck, 3-deck headlines. I wasn't too sure of what you meant by that. Could you possibly explain that?
If you look in any newspaper, you'll see that headlines are over 1, 2, or 3 lines.
Right.
And also over a number of columns. So a headline is a rectangular or square space that has to be filled, and it might just be 1 line long, or it may be a line broken into 3 different lines, if you see what I mean.
Mm-hmm. That's the end of this podcast, but you can subscribe to updates which tell you as soon as another episode is published at internetmarketingfunnel.com/podcast.